Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Prime Pediatric Podcast. This is your host, Dr. Skip Weiss, and I am super excited today. I have Brian Galke with me today. He's not a doctor, but he is a doctor in facial recognition. This man is an absolute genius, and I am so excited. One of the most elated interviews I get to have. I got to meet Brian back in Phoenix a few months ago when he was at the Steve Sims Mastermind, her speakeasy. And then I ran into Brian a few times at some Black Diamond Club events. This man is an absolute genius. Brian, I am so happy you're here. Welcome. Give us a little intro. Tell us who you are, what my team needs to know about you. Just let us know what's going on here.
Sure. So my name is Brain Galke. I'm based out of Dallas, Texas, and I'm going to teach you guys what really gave me an unfair advantage in my life. And it's one of the things that was really, I'm kind of an introvert extrovert, and that I love to be around people, but I was terrified of being around people at the exact same time. And back in 2011, I met someone who changed my life. And in 2019, I decided that I wanted to teach it to other people because of the impact it made on my life. And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today.
Awesome. And what do you exactly specialize in? Because they need to know this, because this is going to blow them up.
Sure. I was certified by attorneys on how to understand people based on their facial features. And I'm going to show you guys a PowerPoint presentation today. I know everybody goes, oh, no, PowerPoint. But I do that for the visual learners, which is something I'm going to explain to you guys. When you come in and somebody walks in your door, how do you immediately just analyze a few things on somebody's face to help understand how do I speak their language? Because that's the real challenge you guys have, is going to any medical professional is daunting as a patient. Right. And especially you guys work in an industry that people bring in their kids, right? And that's our most cherished possession known to man. So we're going to be on the defensive. So it's how do you break down that wall, that barrier, right? And it's so simple that you learned about this in Phoenix, but Brian Bogart talks about people have 4 pillars, and it's physical safety, emotional safety. They want to feel seen and heard, and they want to feel connected. And we're going to teach you how to do 3 and 4 today, just by looking at eyebrows and eyes alone. I mean, there's stuff I do 1 to 3 day training classes on this, but in the 30 minutes we have today, people are going to be able to walk away with eyebrows, because you've seen it done a few different times.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait. And it's going to be amazing. And the docs that are out there listening right now, and the students, and actually, Brian, what's cool is I have patients that listen to this podcast too. And my patients that are going to listen, I don't go into this ever trying to sell you on chiropractic. What I go in to do is, with all of you, is I want to make a connection with you. And I want to let you know that I truly care. And why I have Brian here is because this way I can effectively communicate to you so you understand that I care. And I want to be able to care on the level that you understand. And that's why I have this man here. And my docs that are out there, this is so important for all of you, because you may not actually, the first time you get to meet the patient or the parent is not going to be, some of you should be doing phone calls, but most of the time it's that first meeting is when you step into the room. And you need to be able to connect, but more importantly, you have to connect with them and they have to connect with you. And then you both feel safe and comfortable, so you can both be yourselves and you both can take care of that kid, because that is the ultimate goal. So Brian, I'm going to let you just take off and roll.
Sure. So I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you guys. Oh, can you make it so I can share?
Yeah, we should be able to. Let's see.
Should have tested that before. That was on me.
That's all right. Don't you worry. We can make this work.
And while we're telling that, that's one of the things is, here's what I'm going to teach you guys today. You'll see one of the slides I talk about free food and drinking things you'll get. I showed up, I surprised the Black Diamond Club people there, and Skip was in line to get coffee, and he bought me coffee just because the connection we had created the very first time we met in Phoenix. So that is a true story on what I'm going to teach you guys today as well. So, all right.
All right, we're still recording. I got you as the host right now, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought you coffee because I wanted to, and I really enjoy you as a person. I think you're amazing. And I just, it was a pleasure. And believe me, buying you coffee is the least I can do.
Well, I appreciate the coffee. So I really do. I am going to move you to where I can see you over here. So I have the master control. I have 2 monitors over here, plus the one we're looking at.
Nice.
My Yeti mic, everything else. So if you see me looking away, that's the reason why. But with that being said, what I want to teach everybody today is what I taught in Phoenix with Steve Sims, and that is an unfair advantage about something you don't know that you know, and now we're going to teach you more about it. And what that really is we're all taught and certified on how to understand people based on their facial features. And we think, no, that can't be the case, but it's actually part of our everyday language. So when we say things like it's written on their face, keep a stiff upper lip, take one on the chin, they've got an eye for this, they've got an ear for this, keep your nose to the grindstone, Those are all parts of our everyday language. And well, if you think about it, language is how we learn and take in the world. And people are thinking, okay, well, those are just phrases. But where do those phrases come from? Well, they come from the fact that authors and artists used to go and study something known as physiognomy. And what physiognomy is, there's 42 muscles in the face. And what happens is the mind creates movement, movement creates muscle. And so what happens over time is your parents told you, stop making that face or it's going to get stuck that way. Well, there's some truth to that, because as you do those repetitive muscle movements over and over, it will literally alter your face. And I'm going to show you my own face in a few slides so you can see examples of this. And what this really does is, again, it just teaches you to look at somebody, and because the map tells you where they've been, not where they're going, but what they've been through, how they process information, how they take in information. So I'm going to recommend several books throughout this discussion. One of the ones is the book, The 5 Love Languages. Have you read that one yet?
That's an amazing book. In fact, I just did 5 love languages with my 14-year-old last night. I need to know her more. So yeah. It's cool. It was really, it's a nice one.
So in that book, Chapman says the barriers to communication are broken down when you learn to speak someone else's language. And that's really what it is too often we're taught in a way to be self-centered, because we're taught, hey, here's what I want to do for you. And that's one part of it, but it's helping you understand it is the other part. And that's what we're really going to focus on today. Mm-hmm. And so what are some of the other perks of this? Where does it apply? It applies in your business life with coworkers, clients, prospects, you name it, in your social life, friends, family, in your love life, with even someone you're dating or married to or whatever, because you learn to appreciate what their face says about them. And what I'm going to teach you guys is a little bit of grace too, because things that used to bother me, once I accepted that that's who the person was, I realized that's just how their brain thinks and they process things. So you'll see that when I get to the eye examples a little bit later on today. But where does this help? It helps you instantly create relationships with people from everyone you meet, from the time you walk in the door to the time you leave, free upgrades in hotels and airfare. Actually, after I left the Phoenix event, I had to go to Indiana. And that's when Dallas had gotten iced in. And they wanted me to fly out 8 o'clock at night, get to New York at 2 in the morning, sit at the airport for 4 hours, and then take a 6 a.m. home. I thought, I'm not doing that. So I went on standby on the 3 o'clock flight. Now I was 6th or 7th down on the list, but I got there early and I talked to the gate agent and I knew they were going to have a bad day. And she had these rounded eyebrows, which you'll understand in a minute. But I walked up and I said, oh, it's all your coworkers' fault. It's everybody else's fault that the plane's not here and you control the weather and you control the maintenance. And I said, so you should just stand here. We get to yell at you all day, right? And so I made her laugh. And I said, hey, I'm just trying to get on the 3 o'clock on standby. If you can, great. If not, look, I'm on the 8 o'clock flight, but if it's possible, I'd appreciate it. Not only did I get on the plane, I bypassed several people on standby. I ended up in first class. And why? Because I took a few minutes. I didn't never ask for first class, but because I paid attention to her, made her feel seen and heard. And because the rounded eyebrows, I talked about her coworkers and everybody, she took care of me. And that's what I'm going to teach you guys today. Is just when you make someone feel seen and heard, it changes their life. You may get some benefits out of it, but you'll definitely change their life. And the other story I like to talk about is I'm a huge fan of the Starbucks thing of, buy a cup of coffee for the next person in line. Mm-hmm. But I challenge people to do this. With what I teach you today, the reason the company is called Subtle Skills is because you don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. But if you spend a few seconds of time to make the barista feel like a person, the one who's taking your order that everybody else dismisses, you get great service, but so does everybody else behind you. And they'll remember that longer than a cup of coffee. So anyway, this is the thing that changed my life. I went from help desk to regional vice president of sales from learning this skill. Like I said, I learned how to overcome being an introvert. Because I was an introvert extrovert. I love to be around people, but I was terrified of being around people at the exact same time. This is the skill that helped me get out of my own head. And
that's me too, Brian. That is me to 100%. Like I'm an introverted extrovert.
That's it. So that's why I think we got along so well at the event. Yeah. The number one question people ask about is, what about genetics? Well, you do inherit a genetic code from your parents, grandparents, you name it. But what happens to you after that is what's known as epigenetics. So while you inherited that genetic code, you take a look at the picture of the guy here in yellow, and he's got huge upper body and little tiny legs. Well, those are the muscles he chose to go to the gym and exercise. That's not genetics. right? And it's the exact same way with your face. So what you experience, again, your genetic code is what you start with. That's the blank canvas. But what you experience academically, athletically, romantically, all alters it because you make faces, and those muscles, again, mind creates movement, movement creates muscle. Those alter your face. That's why you can even take identical twins raised with the same household, same genetic code, different life experiences will leave a reflection on their face. So it's more fun when you dig into it. I do think if I'm ever going to read anybody else's face, Skip, you came up. Now you were one of the last ones to come up. We'll talk about that later. But at the Black Diamond event, people just volunteered and walked up, and I had to do this cold in front of everybody.
Yep.
But that's how easy it is. So I like to start with myself, and that is take a look at me in 18 versus 38. Not only did I think I had big hair because I knew I wouldn't have it when I was 38, but look at all the different features, facial features have changed. So the biggest ones that people notice are this eyebrow here on this side of my face used to be straight, and now look at it, it's angled. The other thing people notice, my ears used to stick out more. Now they're closer to my head. Now look at my eyes. They angled down quite a bit. You'll understand this later, but I was raised in a household where my dad could always tell you what may go wrong. So you can call that pessimistic, or you can look at it as like a problem solver. He was more of a problem solver. He was a handyman. He drew up the plans to build our second floor of our house, you name it. But he was always anticipating what could go wrong. And I picked that up. And so my eyes used to actually angle down. But as I got into self-improvement and started to like what I do for a job like this, where I'm passionate about it, my face changed. So if you look now, my eyes even on this side and it angles up. Now I'll explain the two sides of the face here in a little bit. With that being said, what's the biggest challenges we have today is people are hesitant to meet face to face, to get close like we used to do. And proximity is what makes people feel present. So if I walked back to the back of my room and we were talking on the Zoom, even as I walk away, it doesn't feel like we're as close in a relationship versus when we're up here talking. So the more, here's a Zoom tip, the more the Zoom screen you take up with your face, right? You don't want to be like in the middle of it, but the more they can see of you, the more people trust you. So not only should you be looking at your camera, but the more of your face that they can get and people can see when you're talking, the more comfortable they feel with you. Then we also are living in where some people still feel comfortable wearing masks, indoors, outdoors, on the planes, you name it. So then you're left with limited real estate that you can really understand somebody with. Am I smiling? Am I not smiling? Let me tell you, sarcasm took a huge hit with masks because sarcasm includes a smile.
Yeah.
And when you can't smile, you're just an a-hole. So,
it's the truth, man. I love sarcasm, and it's not fun when they can't see your face.
That's exactly it, right? So our whole world has changed, but this is cool. The best part about it is everybody has a face. And you brought up something earlier. Now, it may be the first time you meet a patient when they walk in the room, but I'm going to show you something different that you can do even ahead of time. So with that being said, what I really love about it is proactive, meaning I used to be part of a presentation team where I was flown all over the US for any account over $1 million. It was me and 2 teammates. And I could practice everything in the hotel room, my PowerPoint, the proposal, review it, the projector, but people were always the unknown. And what I learned by this is there are ways to proactively do this even before I show up, which I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Now, I do think some reactive skills are important, especially with what you guys are doing. Body language is huge, right? Because when people walk into your office, that immediately tells you where they're at. Do they cross their arms? Do they put their hands in their pockets? Not all of that is bad, but you have to learn, what does it mean? And so I always suggest everybody starts with this first book, What Every Body is Saying by Joe Navarro. And that is how to understand other people's body language. But then what you really want to control, because people are coming to you and see you as the authority, is you really need to read Janine Driver's book, which is You Say More Than You Think, because that's what is your body language projecting to them. And you're the authority in the room, and people are asking you, you're asking people to trust their most prized possession, right? Which is their kids.
Yes.
So you have to have that authoritative stance in what you're doing. Now, you can grow to become these things. I'm not asking you to be incongruent. Don't be not who you are. I didn't say that grammatically correct, but you have to be true to yourself. But these are things that just by changing your stance, people feel more comfortable with you. And that's the goal, is you have to get them comfortable enough to trust you with what you already know is going to help them. So if you can make a few modifications to your own body language and that helps get you there, all the more power to you. Now, the downside in a lot of the world today is some things are going on to a lot more phone calls, a lot more Zooms, and people have gotten so out of touch with their body language over the last few years. They have their iPads in front of them, they've got their computers, their laptops, or they put their purse in front of them. People don't know how to react. So it's harder to use body language. Plus, if you're looking at body language, who would you rather talk to, right? The person on the top or the person on the bottom? Obviously the person on the top. Why? Because you feel like in that picture, he's making eye contact with you. And the business people here, you're looking them in the face. Now, what you have to do with body language is you kind of pay attention to what they're doing below. If I spend the whole meeting talking to you like this, it's not treating you like a person like this is. And that's what I really, truly love about being able to analyze faces, is because it makes people feel seen and heard. It creates that connection, because even if I'm just looking at your eyebrows, I get credit for eye contact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing, especially with you have a provider, people are coming to you, how to win friends and influence people. That's really a skill of just learning how to ask questions the right way, where you don't feel like people don't feel like they're being interrogated, but you're just trying to learn commonalities, because the whole thing is we like people who are like us. And that's the advantage of this, is what I'm going to teach you here is how to change a little bit of what I want to say so you can best understand it or hear what I'm saying. And again, where we're meeting, a lot more places are sterilized. We have a waiting room that we go into. We don't get to see offices as decorated as they once were. I know Sean and Lacey did a whole section of this, right? What do they call it? The Ego Wall of Fame or something like that they talked about.
Yep.
So even in your own environment, you have to figure out for your ideal customer, people are coming in, what puts people the most at ease? Because again, it's a very daunting thing to go to any medical professional, because there's a sense of vulnerability with having to go, and then a sense of not knowing what we're getting ourselves into.
Right. Right.
I like to use celebrities as the first example, because people know who the celebrities are, right? So for anybody who's not seen the show The Voice, what they start off with is they listen to the artist, and if they like who they hear, then they turn around to see who they are. These are the perfect people to be judges at it, because while you see 4 celebrities, I see 4 people whose ears are larger in proportion to their face than their eyes are. And so these are people who are primarily auditory. So if you're talking to somebody who has larger ears and smaller eyes, and not in comparison to each other, but in proportion to their face, then you say things like, does this sound like a good idea? Do you hear where I'm coming from? You say auditory terms because that's how they think. So if you're going to work with them, I'd give them a call, I'd send them a voice text, send them a video text, but sending them a regular email or asking them to read a bunch of forms doesn't necessarily work for them. So you just learn how to adjust. You're giving all the same information. It's just how do you change the order and how that information is presented. Making sense so far?
Yes, sir. This is spot on. Yep.
So I was raised by New Yorkers, but I live in Texas. So I say y'all and I talk really fast. So I have to always double check, especially when I have coffee as well. So we talked about how is this proactive? How did this change my life? I can get anybody's name now, and I can go and type it into LinkedIn, and then I find a picture of that person ahead of time. So if you have that at that time, or let's say what you want to call is a high profile clients coming in, or, you know, somebody, let's say you're going to work with somebody famous, you know, you name it, in terms of business success or anything like that. I go and look them up on LinkedIn, social media, you name it, find pictures of them and analyze it even before they come in the door. But let's say that you don't have the opportunity to find them on LinkedIn. Even just by looking their face and seeing this little information here about their eyebrows, eyelid, upper lip, chin, all that tells me a little bit about the person. And I'm gonna tell you a story in a minute about a wedding I went to, which I think Skippy will be hearing this for the second time. But, well, actually, you know what? This is a good time to use it. So I went to a wedding in Jekyll Island, which is on the Florida-Georgia line. And after the wedding, I noticed that our server who was waiting on us, his name tag said he was Hungarian. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let me jump to the next slide here. He said it was Hungarian. I was like, oh, okay, well, I've been to Hungary. So I went to my phone, I looked up how to say thank you in Hungarian. And so when he came back and he was filling up my wine glass, I said, Köszönöm. He goes, what? I said, Köszönöm. He goes, you speak Hungarian. I said, well, I saw your name tag said, you know, you're from Hungary. And I wanted to say thank you. He said, you know what? Thank you. I really thank you so much for what you did. Guess whose wine glass was never empty the rest of the night?
Yours.
Plus the 9 other people at my table.
Nice.
All because I took 30 seconds to look this guy up on my phone but more importantly, I made him feel like a person,
Mhm.
right? And a lot of things we're dismissive of people because we either think we're right or we're in a rush. No, treat people like you want to be treated, and it will make a world of difference for everyone. So how long does it take to learn? I have been studying this for 10 years. Like I said, I used it to go from 11 promotions from the help desk to regional vice president of sales, but you can use it and learn it in a single day. So I'm going to teach you guys about eyebrows and eye angles because that's easy to see on everyone. Even if they're wearing sunglasses, you can still make out eyebrows. But also, in case people are still wearing masks, what can you still utilize today? Awesome. So with that being said, we're going to jump right into it. I like to start off with eyebrows. People say, why eyebrows? Eyebrows aren't that big of a deal. That's kind of crazy. All right. Yeah. Go and Google people without eyebrows. You can see this is just a normal Google page.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Look at the celebrities that show up. And I don't know why they black out teeth too. That has nothing to do with what I'm teaching today. But look at how you don't even recognize the celebrities when you can't see their eyebrows. Is that not insane?
The only person I recognized was Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Where did I lose my mouse to? So Angelina Jolie's right here. Mm-hmm. I think that's Justin Bieber. That's the girl from Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name. She's the other famous actress. I mean, I can just keep going down the list. But
yeah, you got Anne Hathaway on there.
That's what I was trying to think of. Anne Hathaway. Yes. Yep. Ryan Reynolds. Look, I love Ryan Reynolds movies, but I can't figure out who he is. Right here, because you get rid of the eyebrows. Mm-hmm. So anyway, why do I teach eyebrows? Because eyebrows lead to eye contact. So being an introvert, I was always living in the prison of my own mind. But when I stopped and I would look at some of these eyebrows and I would think what I'm about to teach you, I got credit for giving them eye contact. And that's what really creates connection. Mm-hmm. Is this day and age where people are looking at their phones or looking at their smartwatch. When you're giving people a few extra seconds of time, not a lot. If you stare at people nonstop, it comes off creeperish. But if you give them just a few extra seconds and they know that you're focused on them, not everything else that's going on, it's a game changer. Mm-hmm. I spoke in front of 400 people at a local Texas Educators Association for technical educators. I know it's a lot of names. 450 people in the room. But when I'm reading their eyebrows and I'm talking to them, because I'm looking for examples of the crowd while I'm talking, and when I'm focusing on that person, the rest of the room goes away. And I guarantee you for that same person, they think I'm the only one up on stage. That's how powerful studying eyebrows are. And the reason I love them is because if you look at all three of the pictures here, it doesn't matter what order they're in, you can still see all three of the eyebrows.
Yes, you can. Yep.
So why are eyebrows important? If we're lucky enough to have been born with sight, that's what keeps our eyes safe. They filter out dirt, water, you name it. So it works out really well. But then on top of that, they tell us how do people take in and process information. And you ask, well, why are eyebrows so important? Because when we're born with our sight, if we're lucky enough, a fear of loud noises and a fear of heights. But we don't understand what words mean and we can't speak. So every baby's eyes are big because that's the initial way taking in the world. So that's like when kids don't like something, they just cover up their eyes. They don't understand that they're not more than their eyes. So going back to how this is part of our everyday language, I actually Googled this one last week and I was shocked because I'm always learning these new phrases, right? So have you ever heard of highbrow humor and lowbrow humor? In terms of comedy?
A little bit, yeah, but not not a ton.
So if you Google it, highbrow humor is humor that somebody tells you a joke and you have to think about it and then you laugh. Lowbrow humor is like Jackass, the TV show where you just see it and instantly laugh. That's lowbrow humor. So literally that's why we call it highbrow humor and lowbrow humor. Mm-hmm. And why is that important? Because if you think of eyebrows like being speed bumps of trying to get information from the top of our head into our eye, the higher the eyebrow is, I can only go so fast and I have to slow down, go over the eyebrow, and then go into the eye. But if the eyebrow is right on top of the eye, it's very low, it can race down my forehead and only has to slow down at the last minute. So if you want to see what that looks like on people, see how high her eyebrows are. So if you can fit 1 to 2 fingers between her eyebrow and her eye, this is somebody who needs time to think things through. So if you see that on somebody, you want to immediately start giving them information and let them process it. So imagine data racing down, has to slow down, and it has to slowly come back into the eye. So they hate being forced to make quick decisions. So this is somebody that when you're going to talk to, let's say it's a patient coming to you, you're going to come in, we're going to talk about the 3 shapes and we'll talk about how to talk to them, but you're not going to present the information and immediately ask them to sign up for your services. You want to give them the information, help them understand it over time, and then you can talk about that. Now, conversely, and you understand this because your eyebrows are right on top of your eye, you understand things very fast. So when data races down your forehead, you understand things faster than most people. So let's say like today, if I was set up to come visit you for an hour and I see somebody's eyebrow is right on top of their eye, then I may get to the point in 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I don't need the full hour because they don't need the full hour.
Right.
So you learn to kind of judge these things back and forth. And you and I talked about this. Actually, I have a video of you on it. People whose eyebrows are close to their eye, they tend to interrupt. It's not to be rude. It's because you understand it so fast, you want to help other people get there. So I constantly interrupt people, and it's by no means anything other than I want to help you get there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why, yeah. So that's why when I say I learned to give people grace once I saw this on their faces, is I used to think, oh, how dare they interrupt me? And I just realized they're trying to help me, not hurt me. And it's written on their face. And it completely changed the way I look at people now.
I love that because I love that.
Going back to the example we talked about earlier, what if it's the first time you see them is when they come in the office? Well, see how her eyebrow's high.
Yep.
Then you know she's going to need more time. So that may use up your full hour that you have with the person before they really get there. Or it may just have to be you present the information, then you have to follow back up with them. Or I'm in sales. So if I'm in dealing with somebody, I give them the information. I'm not going to try and do a one call close on those people, because if I do, I may get a sale, but I've lost a customer. So it's about working with people's personalities versus what I want. So the worst thing they ever say is like commission breath. And that applies to anything, not just people who are on commission. But when you want something so badly that all you're doing is pushing your agenda, that's not how you create a relationship.
No, it's a very one-sided opportunity then, which isn't good.
Absolutely. So same thing, you look at the family here, both their eyebrows are fairly close to their eyes. Yep. So you can get to the point pretty quick with them, right? And again, it's about, you have a double duty with what you do, because you have to make the parents feel comfortable enough to let the kid feel comfortable. Because as parents, I know this, my daughter can tell when I'm uncomfortable with the situation. Kids pick up on far more than we ever give them credit for.
Super fast.
Yes, you have twice the work to do, because you have to put the parents at ease as soon as possible to put the child at ease.
Yeah, and that's huge.
Yeah,
it's huge. Because I think in my profession, a lot of docs, especially with pediatrics, they'll come in and they focus on the child right away, that they need to make the child comfortable. In a way, yes, but the parent needs to be comfortable, because the child inherently is neurologically tied to the parent. So as soon as the parent's uncomfortable, the kid's uncomfortable, like immediately. Absolutely. And it drives the same thing. So we need a focus on the parents just as much as you focus on the kids.
Absolutely. If you wanted to do double duty while you're talking to the parents, you can get down onto the kids' height level, right?
Yep.
So that's exactly a simple one. There you go. See, that's such a simple one, because nobody likes the example of like, if I'm standing over you and talking down to you, that's not, and I'm trying to create connection. But if I come and I get on your level, but I'm talking to your parents, we're still on the same level while I'm talking to the adults.
Yep.
You know,
I love that.
Same thing. You look at the people here, look how close to the eye, or to his eyebrow is. This guy gets it really fast. I'm going to teach you something that I don't normally teach, but this guy also has what's called a brow ridge, and that is where it's a little bit thicker across this area right here. So he likes to understand every step of the process. So you don't just say, okay, it's 6 weeks of treatments or anything like that. You'd say, well, we start with this, then we move to here, and you'd have to break up the process in helping him understand what happens through the full treatment process. So when you see it, that big lump on here called the brow ridge, that's somebody who likes to understand every step of the process. Yep. So anyway, in addition, but he understands things fast, so he wants you to explain it, break it down for him, and then he'll make a decision. Hers, we'll talk about in a second, kind of close to her eye, but straight eyebrows, get straight to the point, which we're about to teach next. So when you come in, there's 3 basic shapes of eyebrows. Now, I am known as the eyebrow guy because I teach everybody eyebrows first, because again, you can see it in public, you can see it through sunglasses, and eyebrows lead to eye contact. That's what really is the game changer for everybody. But there's 3 very basic shapes to eyebrows. There's actually a ton of shapes and a whole thing about thickness and everything, but that's in the full day training. when you look at the three basic shapes, it's straight, angled, and rounded. Straight, as you can see on Skip, get straight to the point. Don't waste my time. Angled eyebrow, what's my angle? Help me understand it so I can help other people. And a rounded eyebrow, think about the people around them first. So I like to show pictures of people that they know, right? So you see a straight eyebrow, again, straight to the point, facts, figures, data. Come over here, look at Bill Gates, straight, Brad Lee, straight. And then you stop talking and you say, what other information can I get you? Because the longer you talk, the more they mentally disassociate with you. Like, okay, here we go. Here comes the pitch, right?
True.
They just want, yeah, let's get to it. What do I need to know? It's funny, I went one time with somebody to sign up for a gym membership. We walked in, we just tried to talk about what's the cost, what's the contract? Well, let me tell you about, we've got 12 showers and we got 3 saunas. Didn't ask that. I just, look, I'm in here, I'm on lunch break. I just need to know, what's the money? People get so into their script and their pitch that they're not paying attention to the person they're talking to.
Yep.
And that's how you alienate people. So again, straight, get straight to the point, facts, figures, data, stop talking and say, what else can I help you with? Next one over, what's my angle? Help me understand it so I can help other people or help them understand it. And here's the cool thing about angled eye people. They want to be included. So you're saying like, hey, well, here's what I'm thinking about. What works for you? So straight eyebrow people, going back to like what we talked about with Sean and Lacey, they're the ones of, you might as well just set up all the appointments, just let them know what you need. How often, when is it, what time of day, that's it. Angled eyebrow, hey, what really works best in your schedule? Ask them to understand it, involve them in the process. So everything you have to do, you just include them. And here's the cool part about angled eyebrow people. While they look daunting at first, these are the people who leave you the best testimonials, the reviews, they tell their friends, they give you referrals, because they feel like once they were part of it, it's something they're a part of. And I realize that's kind of redundant, but if you listen to me again, once they're a part of it and they feel that they're a part of it, they want to share it with other people.
Yep, they learn it to teach it.
Yes, absolutely. That's how I got this one right here, is once I became a corporate trainer, I had to learn the material so I could teach it to other people. So it wasn't about me just learning it, or else I would just have the straight eyebrow. But the angled eyebrow appeared once I had to start teaching it to other people.
And that's on your business side.
That's exactly right. So we're going to show you that here in just a minute. So well-rounded, they think about the people around them first and themselves second. And I love these two celebrities to show, because what do we know about Elon Musk? Could have retired after PayPal, right? Had more than enough money, just go sit on a beach somewhere. But he sank all of that into Tesla to the point he was borrowing money for rent.
Yep.
Look at Oprah. Oh, well, let me finish with Elon. And he's building things that don't just serve him, right? Electric cars, get us to Mars, you name it.
Yep.
Then look at Oprah.
Just bought Twitter.
Yes. I kind of stay away from that because I don't know how controversial it is yet, but you're absolutely right.
But if you look at the global aspect of it with his eyebrows, he's all encompassing. So he literally bought a social platform.
Yes.
For people
and for other people, what's his benefit? It's not like he's going to be the sole owner of it. It's to help other people. You're right.
Yep. Whether you're going to the agenda or not, like that's literally the face value of that. So face value.
There you go.
Go ahead.
That's good. I'm gonna have to look at websites for that. Now you say that. Then Oprah. Everybody knows who Oprah is, but how many people really know that much about Oprah? Right? Not very many. She had a horrible childhood growing up, was told she'd never be in news because she was too heavy and wasn't good looking enough. But what everybody knows about Oprah is two things. Who is she interviewing? And what does she do for her audience? Right? And what does she have? Rounded eyebrows all day long. So we don't know much about Oprah, but we know she's going to interview somebody that's going to help us. And everybody remembers that you get a car, you get a car, you get a car.
Yep.
That's what we know about
everybody
Oprah.
Around her. Yep.
Exactly. So that's a perfect example for that. So then we start talking about when you start looking at people, okay, well, what do you see? Rounded eyebrows, right? A little bit higher. So she thinks about the people around her first, herself second, and then she's going to need a little bit of time to make a decision. Coming over here, straight eyebrows, get straight to the point. They're right on top of his eye. So understands things fast, facts, figures, data, stop talking and say, what other information can I get you? And then she's an interesting one here because she has a straight eyebrow on this side and an angled eyebrow on this side. And people go, whoa, wait, why are there two sides? And as you mentioned earlier, Skip, It's because we have two sides to our face. We have a personal side and we have a professional side. So looking at her, this is her professional side. And probably the reason I subconsciously picked this picture is I'm the same way. I have an angled eyebrow on this side of my face, but a straight one on this side. And the easy way for people to remember that is if you're in the US, I like to say we're all a little two-faced, or we have split personality, because we can be a different person at work than we can at home. And an easy way to remember that is in the US, we wear wedding rings on the left hand. So if I say, hey, are you married? It's a personal question. So this is the personal side of our face.
The left side of the face. Yep.
Yep. The left side. So you can remember, make the L with your hand, or there'd be a wedding ring there, is the personal side. And then business is this side.
Yep.
So we're going to go fast. We talked about where her eyebrows, they're high, give her time, they're rounded. So she is thinking about her kids. So again, you just learn to start looking at faces differently. We've kind of covered these all again, but now you see them in a different light. I'm going to show you guys one more thing, and I know we're running out of time here. So
well,
next one is
okay. That's okay. Take your time, Brian. We're good. Take your time.
Okay. I like to call this one more than meets the eye. There's so many phrases we talk about for eyes. Windows of the soul. Hey, my eyes are up here. You know, you name it. So that's the funny thing is when people, I know it's a joke and a meme now, hey, my eyes are up here. But what does that mean? Pay attention to me, right? That's how serious we take eye contact. Is if you want someone, like, there's times when my daughter's not paying attention, I'll have to say, hey, look at me right here. And when you do that, that's what creates connection. And I'm gonna tell you a story, actually. I wasn't planning on it, but it just reminded me of it. There's a place here called Urban Air, which is trampolines for kids, right? And I posted a video of my daughter. She's like climbing 2 or 3 stories up. I was super proud dad at the time. And I noticed when I was watching her climb, I would look to see, well, what's the next one we're gonna go to? And there was something that was like totem poles that went up, or telephone poles, whichever way you want to look at it. And there was a kid up there and he looked like he was crying. So I waved over the attendant. I'm like, hey, that kid looks like he's up there stuck. And he's like, yeah, we'll try and get him down. I said, okay, so I'm facing this way. The kid's over in the background over here. She climbs 2 more walls and I look and the kid is still there. And I went up to my daughter and said, hey, can I go help that kid for a minute? She goes, yeah. So I unbelayed her from the device. And I walked over and I saw 2 parents. Oh, sorry, let me backtrack. So when I looked over one other time, I saw an adult walking over there, another guy, taller than me. And I thought, okay, that's his dad. They've got him. I go back and look, and he's still there crying. Now there's 2 ladies by him. I just walked up to 2 ladies and said, hey, can I help? And they said, well, you can't climb up there and get it. I said, that's not my plan. I said, can I help? And they said, yes. I walked up to him. I said, hey, look at me in the eyes. You're very brave for going up there. And I know it's scary, but if you come down off there, we're going to catch you. And I just stared at him in the eyes, right? And he's like, I can't do it. I said, sit down. You don't have to jump. Look at me. Just scoot off and we'll catch you. And he came down in 30 seconds. And, came down. I sat him down. I got on his level. I said, you're super brave for getting up there. We all get scared at times. You should go back and try it again later. And I just walked back off to my daughter. And the point of that was, that's how powerful eye contact is and why I teach eyebrows. Because we really do, when we look at people, we feel seen and heard. When people are on their phones, we feel dismissed, right? So anyway, a little bit of a tangent there on eyes, but that's how important eye contact is.
I absolutely love it. And I think it's really cool because y'all, I know you guys are really into neurology listening to this podcast and stuff, but remember, left-hand side of your brain is all analytical. Right-hand side of your brain is all creativity. It crosses over to your eyes as well, remember? So right-hand side of the brain is going to control some of your vision on the left-hand side. It's going to control motor muscle, all that kind of stuff. Same thing with right versus left. So remember, your creativity, your love side, all of that awesomeness is all coming, and it's going to be on your left-hand side of the eye. So you guys can remember the neurology on that too. So this is awesome. This is awesome.
So because we have a few extra minutes, that's why people are like, it can't be this way. It's not muscles. I'm like, okay, then why don't you recognize somebody when they've had a stroke? Right? What happens is all the muscle on one side goes on depending on where the stroke was. Or if you ever go to an open casket funeral, we don't recognize the person that's in there because all the tension in their face is gone.
Everything's gone. The neurology is dead. And that's a huge thing. And commonly I'll hear people say, like, I brought this up about reading people's facial structures. And they're like, the eyebrow thing doesn't make sense because women wax their eyebrows. I'm sure you hear that all the time. And I'm sure there's people listening to this right now saying, well, people change their eyebrow shape by waxing. You don't. If you actually look at the eyebrow shape itself, how it's sitting on the face, the neurology drives those muscles. Remember, your facial nerve, your facial cranial nerve controls the way your face moves. It's brain connection. It's 100% neurological connection.
But you're absolutely correct. People ask me all the time, well, what about people who draw on their eyebrows, right, and shave them? Then they're projecting how they want to be treated by the world.
Exactly.
And so it's funny you mentioned that. So you've seen the picture of my daughter where when she got her face painted at her birthday, she was a tiger and she ran around the whole day going "Rawr" at people, right? Makeup is no different. We're putting on the face of how we want to be seen and treated. And women have had the advantage of this for, generations, decades, where rouge can make their cheeks look wider. They can enhance or change their eyebrows. Red lipstick is to highlight lips, right?
Yeah.
Guys, all we really have is haircut. If you have hair, obviously I'm not in that category, or beards. And so you may have heard me talk about the movie 300. The entire reason that they had them grow those big, awesome beards is because your chin tells you how you handle adversity. That's why they say take one on the chin. It's not strictly a boxing term. It's because that's what you can look at somebody's face. And if you see a receding chin, that's somebody who criticism cuts them to the core. But if they have a broader chin and you take one on the chin, you can just tell them what the downside is or what the negative thing is, the criticism, and they're fine with it. It just deflects right off their chin. Mm-hmm. That's why they had all the actors grow the beard out for the movie 300.
That's awesome. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So going back to eyes real fast, there's 3 basic angles. And the easy way to do it is you can grab a business card. And what you do is you just put an angle in front of it. Let me find one that shows up better. Let's see if this one will show up. Nope. Try a white one here. There you go. Okay. So what you do is you take from the inside of their eye to the outside, you look at it and say, does it angle up? That's the up, looking at the upside of things, even or down. So it'll make more sense when I'm talking here a second. So when you're saying somebody whose eyes angle up, they see the upside of things. So you talk to them about features, benefits. So for example, with what you do, you're going to talk about, as we go through each session, you're going to get a little more of X. But the end goal here is this, and this is what my previous clients have seen and how I've helped them with mobility, with pain, you name it. They want to hear all the positive sides. If somebody's eye is angled down, right, where it's downward, well, that can be, these are people who anticipate problems. So you can talk about things like, this isn't for everyone. Some people start it and then they quit coming to sessions. And when they quit coming to sessions, they don't see the work and the progress that they had hoped and they give up on it, and then they give it a bad name. Mm-hmm. So you can literally, you start talking about when somebody has a downward angled eye, or let's go upward angle eye, they're kind of the optimist. And so they don't want to hear a lot of negativity. Yep. If they're even, pros and cons, fine. If they angle down, they don't want to hear all the benefits and think everything's perfect and talk about how great it's going to be. They want to hear some of the downside or what you have to do and the work they're going to have to put in, because that's how they think. Mm-hmm. So I sell technology by trade. And so if I'm talking about somebody whose eyes angle up, I talk about here's the features, the benefits. This is why our product is the best on the market. If somebody's eyes are angled down, I go the complete opposite, which is I say, the first versions of this product had a lot of bugs and issues. This is what we had to fix over time, which is why I feel comfortable this is the product for you now. Now I'm speaking that person's language.
It makes total sense. And it's not, everybody listening, it's not to get the sale. It's to make the person comfortable to understand, so they can understand what you're trying to say. Because bottom line is you want the kid under care, you want the parent under care, because you're going to get them healthier. That's how chiropractors work. Money is a secondary thing. It's helping the patient. Well, if you can't communicate on the level that they're at, they immediately they feel that you can't help them. This is the whole point of this.
If I can give one more story and then we're almost done. I used to be the obnoxious American traveler. I would go everywhere and expect everybody speaks English. And if they don't, I'll speak it louder because somehow that overcomes the language barrier, right? And so my very first time to go to some countries, I thought, well, this is horrible. Then I learned that it was about attempting to speak somebody's language. Mm-hmm. And so now every time I go anywhere outside of the US, I have on my phone basic phrases. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, please, thank you, where's the bathroom, and check please, right? At least those 7 phrases. When you do that and people see you try, people want to help.
Yeah.
So that's the way life works. And it's like you said earlier, it's not manipulation. It's trying to create connection with people, right?
Yep.
And that's what it is. I mean, we want to find people who are like us. We look for, hey, do you golf? I'd love to golf, whatever it is. Or, hey, what book do you read? You name it. We're always searching for commonalities, but people's face tells us how to talk to them so they can best understand you. And that's what it's about.
I love it. I absolutely love it. This has been awesome. Do you have anything else for us, Brian? No,
that's pretty much it. Oh, I will tell you, I'll blow through these really fast. And that is, you can look up people on LinkedIn. You just try and find a good picture. If you're researching them ahead of time, straight on, well-lit picture where their head's not tilted one way or the other. Or you can look for what stands out. Like if somebody was to draw a character of their face, what would they overemphasize? But for what everybody learned today, just the high eyebrow, the low eyebrow, and then what are the three shapes? I guarantee you'll change your life. So you just look at people and you say, all right, now based on that, how do I change the language so I'm speaking their language? And that's it. So if people want more information, there's a cheat sheet out here. We can go download the 3 eyebrows. I'll be updating that again here soon as well. And you can follow me on Instagram. I put up tips, put up pictures of myself out at different events as well. But that's really where you can learn on a regular basis. And I'll soon be adding a YouTube channel. And I do have an online course. One question that pops up all the time is, you mentioned romantically. Yes, I help my friends like when they get on dating apps to look at faces. So that's how it applies, because we've talked about business and social life.
I love it. And so this audio podcast too. So Brian, how do they get a hold of you as far as those that are going to listen and may not watch this video? Everybody needs to go onto YouTube, get onto the YouTube channel for Prime Pediatric Podcast and watch this video because it'll blow your mind. But more importantly, if they're going to just stay with audio, how do they find you on Instagram, Brian?
At Subtle Skills. Everything is Subtle Skills. Subtleskills.com, at Subtle Skills. I am Brain Galke, but I have the day job. Like I said, I'm a regional vice president of sales, but Subtle Skills is the speaking and the face reading and facial analysis course.
I love it. SUBTLE skills. SUBTLE skills. Brian, it has been absolutely awesome. Blew my mind again. Like it's just phenomenal. Everybody listen to this, learn this so you can communicate better, understand your parents more, create the connections you need on both sides. So then we can get the parent to help out as much as possible and help those kids as much as possible. So take care, everybody. I really appreciate it. Brian, you're the best. Thank you for coming on. Take care, everybody. Get out there, get it done. Bye, everyone.